As we age, makeup seems to get harder and harder to apply. But in today's Style File, we're sharing the beauty secrets that help mature skin look incredible. Studio 5 style and beauty contributor Megan Moore is here. You have discovered one type of product that you say every woman should know about. It comes with a spatula.
Well, you're gonna buy an extra spatula.
Okay.
But it's best used with a spatula.
Putty?
Putty.
We are puttying our face?
Yeah, it's just a kind of a general overall broad term for the type of product. It's kind of a putty. Sometimes it's also referred to as a balm,
okay,
right? But essentially what makes it a putty is that it doesn't move in the container unless you move it, right? It doesn't have any kind of give to it. It's very solid, and then you're gonna do the moving to get it out of the jar.
So it's thicker.
It's thicker. It's more viscous, if you will. What? Oh, the viscosity.
What? Suddenly we are in a spelling bee or a vocabulary lesson. What does that mean?
It's a scientific term. It just means something that's thicker, right?
Okay.
Like, so it doesn't have as much movement. So it's the same thing. Like, I think a lot of times putties get a bad rap because you get it and you're like, oh, it's so smooth and beautiful, and I don't want to disturb this, right?
Dig in there.
So you're like, oh, just a little tap to keep it smooth. No, this is not what putty is for. Putty needs to be dug out and manipulated to be used efficiently.
You know what I think of? I think of that scene in Mrs. Doubtfire where they're making the mask that's just been smashed, and they're literally spackling Robin Williams' face.
Yes, right? I mean, that's an extreme version for sure. Yeah. But yes, the reason I love it for mature skin, we kind of talked about that, is because as we get more mature, our texture gets more pronounced, right? We see the pores, we see the fine lines. A putty product has that kind of thick, balmy quality, so it kind of floats over the surface, and it really looks nice on the skin. So that's why I love it.
All right, let's jump into some of your favorite putty products. I referenced the spatula. Kind of a joke, kind of not, because there is a tool involved.
Yeah, so I recommend buying a spatula. These are just like cosmetic spatulas you can get on Amazon.
Okay.
But they're so great because that way when you're digging into a product, you're not going to get it under your fingernails.
Yeah.
You're not going to introduce bacteria into it. So I love this. Now this first product that you're playing around with, this is by Jones Road, which is Bobbi Brown's new line.
Oh yeah.
And it's specifically designed for more mature skin. And this is called her Miracle Balm. It's kind of like use it everywhere. There's lots of different colors. But once you get it out of the pot and kind of warmed up on the skin, it becomes this beautiful, balmy, iridescent, glowy product, right?
Is it like a primer, a foundation?
You can any and everything. I use this. My favorite place to use this is actually on my chest, right?
Your décolleté.
My décolleté, because it gets, it does. I don't want to full on makeup here, but I like to blur and kind of give a little bit of luminosity.
Blur is a good word.
Yes, and that's what it does because it floats over the surface. You can see I just have a little bit of glow there. Lots of different colors. This is kind of more of the bronzy one, which will give you more of a sun-kissed look, but there's pink versions. They're awesome.
Well, for the summer, could this replace kind of that foundation when I don't want something as heavy?
Yes, if you just want to put kind of a glow, kind of a dew on the skin, it's great just on the cheeks or everywhere, and you can kind of layer it and make it as dewy as you want.
Didn't she have a Miracle Balm with her original Bobbi Brown
She did.
line?
This one's a little different consistency. This one is more of that putty consistency. It's a little bit, more viscous. You got to scoop it out of there, okay?
I've been wanting to ask you insider talk just for a minute. Indulge me, but Bobbi Brown did sell off her own self-labeled line.
Right.
Created this Jones Rose. Do we like it as much?
I've only tested a few products, but so far so good. I think the age point that she's going for is definitely 50 and over.
Yeah.
So it's great to fill in that hole in the market where we don't have lines specific for that.
Nice. Okay, I'm excited to try it. Next on our putty product list.
All right, these are the putty products by e.l.f. Now, they have a whole line of them, but these are their putty blushes and their putty bronzer. Love all of them, but again, you can see it's not going anywhere, right? And if you were just to tap into this with your finger, it would take a while to kind of build it up. So I like to get some out and then kind of warm it up on the fingers and get that balmy going, and then kind of tap it onto the cheeks.
So you've said that a couple times, warm it up. And my hairstylist has said that as well. Warm up the product. Does that make a difference?
It does, because it's going to make it kind of move and spread a lot easier. So you don't get a glob of something somewhere, or just like if you put it on right on the cheek and it's stuck right there, right? So we want to warm it up, get it moving, kind of flowing, and then apply.
Okay, nice. e.l.f. check.
Yep.
What else?
Okay, now this is a primer. I've talked about this forever. I love this product.
This looks legit though in terms of the putty power.
Yes, the putty and the filling in, kind of filling in the pores. This is by Tarte. This is one I have used and talked about so many times, and I love it. I go back to it year after year, and it just fills in the pores and just floats over the skin. Just gorgeous. You can wear it all on its own too, or underneath foundation.
I was gonna ask, so a primer underneath.
Yeah.
And it won't be, People get nervous about how many layers I think sometimes they're putting on their skin, but is it fairly weightless?
I feel like this one's super lightweight. I don't feel like it settles at all. It just kind of floats over the top and just kind of fills it in, and then you put something on top of it easy.
And slippage, we sometimes worry about the slipping
This
of
one's
makeup.
totally matte. It totally mattifies the pore. It doesn't look shiny or kind of slippery at all. So that's why this is the one I go to all the time.
You have talked about this for years. I need to try it. Okay, what's next?
Okay, these are Morphe kind of mousse. These ones are a little bit more moussey. These are kind of lip or cheek, but I love them on the lip. The reason is because they're matte, but they're sheer, which is a really unique combination, right? So sometimes you want it to be sheer, but you don't want it to be glossy, right? So this is a great way. So yeah, again, scoop it out, just kind of tap it on. It's almost like a stain on the lip, just gonna give you like a hint of color, but it's not gonna be a full-on lipstick.
I've experienced lately, it's probably just the speed in which I'm running through my morning and applying my face. But it's hard sometimes to target blush, powder blush, exactly where you want it. It kind of floats and spreads on its own. I imagine there's a little more control with this.
Yes, especially if you put it on with the fingers, because you can just tap it exactly where you want it, right? So, and same with if you're using it as a lip, sometimes lips can kind of get away from us too, right? So a finger is a really great way to control. And then you can use a brush to blend it out further if you want.
Okay, last putty product that made your favorites list?
This is the MAC paint pots. These have been around forever.
I forgot about the paint pots.
They are the OG. They have been around so long.
They are putty. I used it for years and I don't remember why I went away from it, but you're right, putty.
They're putty, so you can use these as a great primer for an eyeshadow. If you have a hard time with your eyeshadow creasing, these are like never gonna budge, right? Or you can wear them all on their own, but they are like the original putty that we just didn't even realize what it was when we were using it. So again, same thing. I like to scoop it out, warm it up, and get it on that way versus kind of dipping a brush into it or anything like that. So yeah.
When I first started TV, that was a problem I experienced. It was the studio lights would melt my face. And I don't know if my skin's just gotten drier as I got older or if I've become accustomed to these heat lamps that sit above us, but that was what every makeup artist recommend to help the eyes just stay.
So if you have like a wedding this summer or spring, you're gonna be outdoors, or family photos, you're gonna be outdoors where you're gonna be sweaty, the paint pot is your go-to.
This was kind of fun. Not quite spackling the face. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't go that far, Robin Williams and crew. But these are great products that you recommend, you endorse, you've tried, and you do that all the time. Try and share. Where can we follow along?
Follow me on Instagram at BeautySnoop or on my blog, thebeautysnoop.com.
And spring is fun because Megan does color all year round. It's her jam, but you really have fun with the pretty pinks of spring.
This is the time of the year where we get to just like bust out of the winter blues and go for it.
All right, Megan's your coach. She's your guide. Find her on Instagram. We'll link you over. Thank you so much. Great job.